Hello and welcome to my video. For today I am doing the new moon in Aries, and this is a big new moon. I'm a bit flustered because I just had trouble getting my video to actually work. I had to turn my phone off and put it back on again, and then it came up with this kind of restore Apple thing, and I was like, what is going on here? So decided to turn it off again, and then it just kind of decided it was going to work anyway. So that's why I'm a bit kind of like flustered about what's happening. So yeah, new moon in Aries, action oriented energy, fire, passion, drive, very full on energy, time to take action. And it's also happening in the cardinal energy. So the cardinal energy is all about pushing forward and the new as well. Aries is the new. And the most amazing thing about this new moon is the fact that it's taking place on the very 0 point of the axis mundi of the cardinal energy. So all the cardinal signs at this time, Aries, Cancer, Libra and Capricorn, are all going to be feeling this new moon energy incredibly powerfully. It's actually happening at 0:50 minutes, so 0 degrees and 50 minutes of Aries. So it's just entered into Aries, where it's met up with the sun, who is already at that degree. And so some very exciting new energies are in play here. We've just had the spring equinox yesterday, so basically the planets haven't changed that much, apart from the moon has now joined Aries, and there is so much energy in Aries. We've got a stellium beyond stellium of energies in this sign at this time. We've got the sun, we've got the moon, we've got Mercury that's conjunct the sun and the moon. We have Chiron and we have Jupiter, who are also conjunct. So there's a lot of Aries energy, but then behind the scenes there's more energies in Aries at play there. So we've got these 5 obvious energies here, but we also have Jupiter and Chiron are in a triple conjunction with Vesta, and Vesta is the kind of sacred heart flame, the sacred flame of the hearth and the home and the heart. Mercury has just had a cazimi with the sun as well, so Mercury is hidden behind the sun at this time. So there's a kind of need here with Mercury to kind of find some clarity and some kind of a way of facing the things that are making us feel uncomfortable at this time as well. Things that we don't necessarily want to speak about or express. Now is a good time to kind of acknowledge those things, even if we just acknowledge them to ourselves, because Aries is the sign of the self. It is the I am sign. It is the baby of the zodiac. It's the very, very beginning. And so this axis mundi point is also being activated not only by the sun and the moon and Mercury to some extent, but it's also being activated by that energy that is known as Manwë. And Manwë is the kind of elven king. He's very similar to the Jupiter energy, so he's very much to do with truth, honesty, optimism, joy, happiness, seeing the best in things rather than seeing the negative. Manwë found it very difficult to see the negative side of things, which isn't always the best, but at this time with him at that 0 degrees of Aries, it's kind of a very encouraging energy, I would say. It's a very like not just supportive, but it's kind of saying to us that there is a new way of doing things. There's a new beginning, a new way of like looking at life, if you like, at looking at our own self as well, because as I was saying, Aries is the self, it is the I am, it is the sovereign energy, which is really being highlighted here as well. It's courageous, it's the courage, it's the drive, it's the passion. But there are also some drawbacks here. But I will also just say as well that there is 10 energies in Aries at this time, and Celestia is another energy that we have there at this time, and she is about 7 degrees of Aries. So she is also making some interesting aspects at this time as well, but I'll go into them at a later date. So now that the moon has moved into Aries, we've got this lineup which I have been talking about previously of all the planets apart from Pluto, Saturn, which are the two maleficent energies, and Neptune. So Neptune is also part of this new moon energy as well. So the moon is kind of extending both ways. So anybody who's got anything within the kind of 25 degrees of Pisces up to the 5 degrees of Aries, any planets or points within those degrees are going to really feel the effects of kind of wanting to push forward at this time, really wanting to take action. Also, another reason that that's going to be coming up is because we have Mars in a square with this energy as well. So Sun and Mars can be very positive, it can be very action, it can be very driven, it can be very self-confident energy, self-aware energy, but it can also be an energy of impulsiveness, of doing things out of character, of kind of just leaping into a situation without thinking things through. And with Mars in Gemini, square this moon at the moment, Mars is at 28 degrees of Gemini, having just come out of his own shadow on the 16th of March. He's going to be leaving the Gemini energy and moving into Cancer on the 25th of March. But at the moment, he's in some difficult alignments, shall we say, with this this new moon energy. But he's also trining Saturn, and he's also square to Neptune as well, and quincunx Pluto. So the quincunx with Pluto is always like quincunx energy is a uncomfortable energy. It's an energy of feeling something is like at unease. There's an uneasiness about it because it's that in between. It hasn't quite got to an opposition, but it's coming out of a trine energy. So Mars and Gemini, sorry, Mars and Pluto, Mars in Gemini. Quincunx, the Pluto energy at the moment is making us feel a little bit kind of on edge. Like everything is on edge. I mean, with this 29 degrees, Pluto at 29 degrees, 58 minutes, literally about to leave the sign of Capricorn on the 23rd of March and move into the sign of Aquarius, where he has not been for like 220 years was the last time. So we have never ever experienced Pluto in Aquarius. We have no idea, because in fact Pluto wasn't even discovered before the last time he was in Aquarius. So there's a lot of history involved in that movement as well, a lot of shifting of energies of our own personal history as well. Pluto moving into Aquarius is going to be life-changing in so many ways, so many ways. He's leaving the sign of Capricorn, the 29 degrees, the sign Capricorn that governs literally governance, like elitism, status, money, reaching the pinnacle, because Capricorns always want to climb higher and higher. That is their thing. As a mountain goat, they always want to be at the top of that ladder. But they don't always, like, the energy itself is not always a, how can you put it? It's not always conducive to other people. It doesn't always think of others on the way up, shall we say. And Pluto is the planet of power. It's the planet of power, sex, money, and power gained through sex and money. It's also very deconstructive. Pluto will deconstruct, which he has been doing with this Capricorn energy, which is why now we get him at this 29 degrees, which is like the anoretic point. It's the most critical point of any of the signs, and Pluto being that energy of not only destruction, but also of kind of rebirth and birth itself. He's very much playing a part in this new moon. He is actually in a sextile with the moon and the sun at this time. So the divine masculine and the divine feminine are both sextile Pluto. So they're kind of bringing in that, it's like the new energy, but also that need to get rid of the old as well, because we also have Neptune involved in this. So the 12th house, because the moon's energy is extending backwards into the sign of Pisces, which is the 12th house energy, and it's moving forward into the first sign of Aries, that new beginning, that fresh start. But it's kind of saying that there's this need to, like, transform that old energy. We need to take the old and kind of, it feels like, kind of squeeze out like the best of it, and disregard what doesn't work for us, to have a new look, new stories. Mars in Gemini is kind of saying the same thing as well. It's kind of time to change the narrative. It's time to write new stories, to have a new beginning, to completely move away from that old way of doing things, the old way of looking at the world, because we also have Pluto in a T-square at this time with the North Node. So he's just about, I mean, he already is making that connection with the North Node and the South Node. So of course these are the karmic nodes. They are the fate, the past and the future. The North Node in Taurus is our future, it's where we're heading. And the South Node in Scorpio, which of course is ruled by Pluto, is what we're needing to let go and leave behind. So Pluto is very much kind of activating both of those energies for us separately, but also together. And Pluto is the focus of attention at this time as well, in that T-square, as the nodes are always opposing each other as they move in reverse. They are always opposing each other, exact. And so Pluto is the energy that has the focus of attention there. And interestingly, the nodes have also been, and still are to a certain extent, also T-square with Black Moon Lilith energy, which is in Leo. So there's still a lot of potential to see things that we otherwise may not be prepared for. I also feel as well with Saturn at this 1 degree of Pisces now, there is this kind of semi-sextile happening between him and Pluto. And both, as I was saying, both of these are maleficent energies, so they always work in reverse, or in what's the word? They always work through the not so much the negative. There's a word for it, but I can't think what it is at this time. But they are closely linked again, and the last time they were closely linked was back in 2020 when they came together in the sign of Capricorn, and everything that was really kind of like the beginning of the collapse, the beginning of the kind of change and destructive energy that really all of us lived through that period of time when during 2020, when everything changed, when in a way that none of us would have ever expected to be possible, but it did. And so there's this kind of echo of that energy, as well as the powers, the power players try to hold on and cling on to that old energy, that kind of South Node Scorpio type of energy of kind of secrets and keeping things hidden, like power play, all of that kind of energy is very much being activated at this time. Of course, we've got all sorts of crazy things happening around the world at this time. And again, with this Neptune energy in Pisces, which is going to be in Pisces for the next few years as well, as it goes over the next, like the last 5 degrees, and it will be going retrograde backwards and forwards before then as well. So we've still got a wee while until Neptune leaves Pisces. So if you think that we've seen the last of the crazy, that's really not gonna it's just really beginning. Things are really gonna start to get even weirder, for want of a better word. Weirder in the sense of not being able to rely on things that we would normally rely on. It's almost like having all of our crutches taken away from us, all the things that we thought were going to be stable and there forever. We got Saturn at the very beginning of Pisces, and that energy, Pisces energy, the unknown, the nebulous, the really kind of like wacky, weird, like you can't put your finger on that kind of energy. It's that knowing, it's that inner knowing of something, which, as I said in my last video, I think is what Saturn in Pisces is all about. It's about stabilizing the inner rather than the outer. So it's like finding that core center of what you know, and holding fast to it, because what you know inwardly to be true, because everything outwardly which you thought was true is going to change, is going to dissolve, is going to disappear, is going to fall apart over these coming kind of couple of years. But it's not all doom and gloom. It is a productive energy. As this new moon is telling us, it is the beginning of something completely new and completely different. Pluto moving into Aquarius is also going to bring about some major technological changes as well. Aquarius, as I've said before, it's the system within the system. So whereas you could say that Capricorn is the system, Aquarius is the kind of the workings of that system. So Pluto is going to go in there and he's going to deconstruct that as well, because that's what Pluto does. He digs deep, 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 deep down to the very roots and the very foundations of things that aren't working, that need to be transformed, that need to be changed. And that includes us as well, not just the outer, but the inner as well. So Aquarius, of course, is the higher mind, it's the higher consciousness, it's the sign of, well, it's ruled by Uranus, so it is that sign of fast, active change out of the blue, shocking kind of experiences, things that are kind of unexpected. It's an unexpected energy, and Aquarius has that ability to kind of just surprise you. Aquarians have that ability to just surprise you out of the blue. You think you know them, and then they'll go and do something completely different, something completely like out of character in many ways, because they do not like to be put in a box. Aquarians cannot be boxed in, although there are some Aquarians who find some kind of stability within the stableness of that Saturn energy, because they were also, like, Saturn was the original ruler of Aquarius. So Aquarians sometimes can seem very distant and very kind of like harsh or cold, because there is that Saturn element as well. But I feel that more and more, that as the Aquarian energy is changing and as more Aquarians are being born into the world now, that they have much more of this kind of Uranus energy about them, rather than the old kind of stable kind of not just but traditional way of looking at the world, and wanting to keep things the same way because that's how it fits in their understanding. So that is all about to be changed as well, because of course Saturn has just gone through Aquarius and Pluto is now going to enter Aquarius, and he's really going to kind of get down to the nitty gritty and the roots of what Saturn has been trying to enforce, which Saturn has been trying to enforce on us, the people. That is also another thing about the Aquarian energy. It is the energy of the people. Socializing, freedom, freedom to do what we want to do, to think the way we want to think. And Saturn has been that censoring, closing us down, cancelling. That kind of energy is very much Saturn in Aquarius, which got really very strong over the last couple of years. So as I was saying, we've got, at this time, now that the moon has moved into Aries, we have got this whole row of planets. We've got the sun, we've got the moon, we've got Mercury, we've got Chiron, we've got Jupiter. And then they're all in Aries, and then in Taurus we have Venus. Venus is now at home. She's moved into Taurus. She's in a home sign and she's feeling good, although she is making some interesting aspects herself. She is, I believe, yes, she's also square Black Moon Lilith, because she's also conjunct the North Node as well. And we also have Juno there as well. So there is this triple conjunction happening here in Taurus, as well as this triple conjunction happening with, in fact, there's quite a few triple conjunctions happening at this time. The Chiron, Jupiter, Vesta is a big, powerful, healing conjunction that is taking place. Again, in Aries, at the very beginning, at the very start of the zodiac energy. It's not in the beginning of Aries degrees-wise, but it's still in Aries, that first sign, which is going to be activated right the way through the Aries season. As the sun crosses over all of these Aries degrees, he's going to go across all of these planets and really activate their energies. Yes, so Venus is also making let me just have a quick look, square with Pluto as well, yeah. So, which brings us into this T-square energy. Again, another T-square. We've got a couple of T-squares going on here. In fact, there's a few different T-squares. We also have, as I was saying, we've got Pluto and the North and South Node T-square, and then we've got Black Moon Lilith, who's also T-square with the North and the South Node as well. So again, it's kind of bringing up all of that nasty kind of like shadow, hidden, dark, shadowy energy that we don't want to acknowledge or look at or recognize or understand, is kind of like underneath the workings, let's say, of the big names. I mean, Black Moon Lilith is in Leo, and Leo is all about the stars, the heroes, those on the world stage. It's also to do with corruption as well, Black Moon Lilith. Very similar. I mean, Pluto and Black Moon Lilith are like the masculine and the feminine of that dark energy, that transformative energy at the same time. But there is an element of it being quite quite a disturbing kind of energy, shall we say. It's trauma-based energy. When you think about the Pluto and the Black Moon Lilith energy together, it is very kind of like trauma, bringing up trauma, making us look at things that we don't necessarily want to, like I say, acknowledge or recognize or understand, that in many ways the world has been corrupted and run on this corruption for so long that it's so deeply ingrained that we've almost just got to the point of just accepting that this is how the world is, this is how it runs, this is what it's all about. And this Pluto North Node, Black Moon Lilith North Node energy is kind of saying, choose your side, choose where you want to be. Do you want to be in that camp of like, you know, power for the sake of power, keeping that kind of side of things running, keeping the corruption going, giving it your energy, making it a part of your world? Or do you want to be in the Taurus energy, which is our value system? What do we value? Why do we value it? It is also the possessions, what we own. And Scorpio energy can also be very obsessive energy, that Pluto energy, very obsessive, very like ownership, like you own something, like you have power over something. It gives you feelings of extreme control, but also what's the word I'm looking for here, like a sexual kind of words, a sexual kind of superiority, like it's a superiority, there is a superiority energy about it, like a sense of betterment. And that also comes through with this Leo energy as well. This Leo energy can also be a sense of betterment, a sense of, because it is the regal energy, it does rule like the monarchy and all of that kind of thing as well. The Leo is the royal sign, of course, the lion. So we can expect to see at this time, because the world axis Monday, the world stage is being activated at this time, we can expect to see the best and the worst of both, of everything. The best and the worst is probably the best way to put this. We'll see highs and we'll see lows. There's a lot of emotion involved here as well, with the Neptune conjunct the sun and the moon. Emotionally, there's going to also be a lot of outpouring of held back, what's been held back and not acknowledged. But again, coming back to this kind of this lineup of planets, we've got Taurus with Venus and the North Node, and then there's also Uranus as well, and then the next planet that we've got there is Mars in Gemini. So from Gemini, or shall we say from Aries through to Gemini, everything is kind of compacted, concentrated, very much in the first two signs at the moment, particularly the very first sign of Aries, the self, the I am, the kind of individual. And this again is the Pluto energy moving into Aquarius, is also going to kind of redefine that energy, transform that energy of the interconnectedness of things, but also realizing that we are all still individual, though we may all be connected on a higher level of awareness and understanding, and it may also bring out a lot of or activate some deeper possible telepathic kind of connection with people, and those that are close to us, those that we have strong bonds with. It may bring out a lot more kind of like sensing other people's thoughts or feelings, or just knowing on some level that people are interconnected. There's just this strong, but there's also this feeling as well, and although it's technological, though Aquarius is also technological, and there is this big push at this time for this kind of transhumanism, this hive mind idea of we all need to be the same, we all need to be chipped and counted and like shut down as human beings, as like our true selves, so that we can all become part of that hive mind, working together for the greater good kind of thing, with like, you know, our betters keeping an eye on us and making sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing for the betterment of. But I don't feel as though that's going to be Pluto's role as he moves into Aquarius. I feel as though he's going to be doing the opposite. In fact, I feel as though Pluto is going to be kind of reminding us of our humanity, because the Aquarius is the humanitarian energy as well. So it feels as though he's going to be kind of deconstructing that whole technological kind of like area of our life, if you like, and taking us into this more natural sense of who we are, connected to everything. And Pluto's going to be there for the next 20 years, once, apart from his retrograde back into Capricorn, which he will be doing. He's going to station in May, so Pluto is the first planet that is going to be retrograding, and he will be doing that at the 0 point of Aquarius. He's not going to get beyond that point, but then he's going to retrograde further back to that 27 degrees of the natal US chart. 27 degrees being where Pluto was at the time that the independence, Declaration of Independence was made. And we can already see what is taking place. So we've got the thing about the natal chart of America for like Pluto and Capricorn, and why that it's having such a huge effect at this time, is because it's in the second house for the US. It's the second house of finance, of this Venus energy of finances and banking and value. Again, that value system. What do you value? Why do you value it? Is money really the answer? Is finance really the answer? Because it has been used as a form of control. And that again is that Pluto energy. Pluto at that 27 degrees has kind of stamped that energy into the US chart, if you like, as it being a form of control and power, which we have seen as the US became like the top dog of the world. It kind of became the what's the word again I'm looking for? It became the country that kind of managed everybody else. But at the same time, as it was doing that, it didn't realize that it was creating the same issues that it was telling everybody else it shouldn't be doing. So it kind of stopped where it is now. The US now is probably at its most corrupt that it has ever been. When it comes to this 27 degrees of its natal chart, and Pluto is going to go back to that point, that 27 point. And what is really interesting about that 27 point is it is also sextile Joe Biden's natal sun, because his natal sun is at 27 degrees of Scorpio as well. So there is this relationship there, very powerful relationship at this point in time, of him being in that position of power, as Pluto has been going backwards and forwards over that 27 degree point of the natal chart as well. Another interesting energy that we're dealing with at this time, which is trine Uranus, when Uranus is at 16 degrees and 18 minutes. So Uranus is also coming up to that 17 degree point again of where he was when the Second World War broke out as well. So he has also, that was the point that he retrograded on. So he's gone back, and he's going to be going back across that same point again. Just let me quickly check the degrees here, because he will be, where are we? Uranus, 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 Uranus. Because he's still coming out of his shadow period from last year. So he's stationed at 18 degrees 55. So he was conjunct that 17, 18 degrees of where he was 80 years ago when we had the breakout of the Second World War. So there is this cycle, and there is these echoes of history that are playing out at this time as well, as the energies move and shift. And this new moon is really vital on so many levels. It feels like a really vital potential and possibility for something completely different, for us to completely take a different turn, to kind of change that history, change that timeline, not go back into that energy, which is that Neptune energy again, that 12th house, that letting it go. And the 12th house is also not only about letting things go and surrender, it's also the hidden enemy as well. And often the hidden enemy is the self as well, because we don't see our own flaws. It's only other people who see our flaws. We find it very difficult. We see flaws in others. We don't see the flaws in ourselves. So it is our own hidden kind of enemy. But it's also our outer, like, hidden enemy as well. So that is kind of what we're seeing at this time. And that again is what we need to let go. We need to get out of that mindset of enemies in general, of kind of this world of like, this country's our enemy and this country's our ally, and we need to really let go of the history that we have lived through for these past 2,000 odd years, as we move into this energy of Aquarius, as Pluto moves into really kind of like transform what has been previously, and let go of that Piscean energy as Neptune moves further into his own, because Neptune is also in that shadow period at this time as well. Neptune is at 25 degrees 20, and he's still to come out of his shadow energy, which he will be doing on the 24th of March. So that's just after Pluto moves into Aquarius. Neptune is going to be coming out of that shadow energy, but he is also entering, or he has entered into his shadow energy as well on the 10th of March. So we're in that kind of, like, I've talked about it before, we're in that double shadow energy, and Pluto is also in that double shadow energy. And I feel that this is quite a critical point in our history, not only because Pluto's at that 29 degrees of Capricorn, but when Pluto and Neptune move into like their double shadow energy, it's almost, I feel as though things get even more not just weirder, but unstable somehow, or dangerous, or yeah, like a critical danger period somehow, where things get even more intense. So we need to be aware of that kind of potential as well, especially again with Mars, that kind of flare up energy, that energy where we could just say or do something in the spur of the moment that could upset things so easily for us on a personal level, but also on a world level as well, because this is the activation, as I've been saying, of the world stage. So we really need to watch at this time where this is going, and to not agree with it somehow, to just kind of say we don't agree, we don't want to go down that road. We've done this before, and things have like changed against us. Before 2020, there was so many kind of protests going on around the world. It was massive, it was huge, like governments being taken down left, right and centre, and all sorts of huge changes were occurring at that time. And then it all shut down, it just all completely shut down. And again, that was their kind of way of just stopping everything from changing at that point, which, you know, maybe it wasn't the right time. Maybe we all need to be wakening up more, which this Uranus energy is doing, although Uranus is not actually affecting any of this energy in a kind of obvious way. He's still connecting with the energy of Orcus in Virgo, which I have spoken about previously as well. Orcus is the energy of the oath keeper. Your word is your bond. If you give your word, if you take an oath, then you keep it, because Orcus otherwise would take you down into the underworld and would keep you there until such time as you realized the error of your ways, what you'd done wrong. It was a really big thing. Your word was your bond, and it still is and still should be. Politically, I still believe that people should be made to sign things, that your name, your bond, it should be written, it should be a physical thing. You should actually write your name, sign your name, so that you can't get out of whatever it is that you said you were going to do and didn't do, or said you weren't going to do and then went ahead and did it. So there is like evidence of the fact that you can be held accountable, basically, because at this time nobody seems to be able to be held accountable except for those who are trying to better things and make the world a better place, a safer place, and those who stand up against the regime at this time. Again, Pluto energy, regime, Mars energy, war, armies, regimes, enforcement. If you stand up against those kind of energies at this time, then you do yourself become closed down, censored, challenged. So there is this still this ongoing, but that's like the older energy. It's like it's like this needs to be looked at with fresh eyes in a new way. And I think there are new alignments happening on the planet at this time as well, which are going to make a big difference. Money wise, things are changing, things are collapsing. The whole, as I was saying, the whole of our society, the way that we know it, the crutches that we've held on to for so long are being kind of taken away from us. Again, it's that Pluto energy, that 29 degrees. But we also have, in the opposite sign of Aries and this new moon energy, we have Make, the universal karmic law is of justice and what is right and what is fair, is at 8 degrees of Aries. So he's also connecting in an opposition with the Salacia energy at this time, who's also connected to this Mercury energy as well. Mercury at 5 degrees, Salacia is at 7 degrees 57, so more or less 8 degrees. And they're both opposing the Make energy. Almost. Make is also square, as is Salacia and Mercury, square to Pholus at this time as well. So again, that Pholus energy of things happening suddenly, sudden cell death, sudden to do with biolabs, to do with anything that is poison to the blood in particular. And Aries is the sign of the blood as well. It is the body, the blood in particular is what Aries rules over, as well as the head, being a very headstrong sign, which is sometimes why we can dash into things too fast, too quickly, without that thinking capacity, where Mars is in Gemini at this time. But Mars is also coming up to that critical point of leaving Gemini as well. So there could be a lot of kind of conflicts and clashes going on there as well. But this Pholus energy is still very interesting. Salacia, the energy of bringing things up out of the dark, from the depths. Mercury, communication, speaking about things, expressing data, information, all being put out there into the light, with Make opposing this energy, which is kind of the, as I was saying, the universal karmic justice. It's the higher energy of Saturn, the 5D energy of Saturn. So Saturn being the last planet we can see with our physical eyes, he is the kind of controller, if you like. And Saturn in Pisces is that karmic releasing energy. It's about releasing and surrendering our karmic past. But he's also the energy of karma, of like every action has a reaction. He's the karmic lord, and he is the ruler over the physical domain as well. But Make is that higher energy. So whereas Saturn enforces laws and judgment on a kind of legal basis, on a human level of things, Make is doing it on a much more grander, universal scale of longer term energies. I think I've spoken about this previously, like karmic energies on a longer, like how we historically have behaved. Make is kind of saying, right, okay, so this action happened, so we now have to kind of balance it, especially in Libra, which is where he's at. So he's bringing that balance in. He's bringing in the harmony and trying to keep things in a universal sense balanced. The balance, if you want to talk about the kind of like Libra being the relationship energy as well, of the masculine and the feminine, the scales, the justice system, that kind of thing, and things have been out of balance for so long, to do with masculine and feminine energies. It's been out of balance, to do with the law system. It's been out of balance. There's just so much that you can talk about that's out of balance when it comes to like the world in general. So Make is opposing this energy, but bringing things up to the surface, because he is also square this Pholus energy as well. So this puts Pholus once again in that T-square as the focus of attention. So there's still going to be a lot more that is going to be coming out, a lot more information, a lot more is going to be spoken about, a lot of stuff's going to come up that people are going to be shocked about. Make is also sorry, so Pholus, yeah, is also square to this to Salacia as well. So again, he is that energy of all the things that go against nature, really. That's how I see Pholus, sorry. It's the things that go against the natural way of nature herself. It's the messing about with things that are natural to make them unnatural, to turn them into something that can be used as a weapon against the human race, against nature. Not just the human race, but against nature in general, destructively. So the things that come under that bracket for me are also things like GMOs as well, GMO foods. Talking of which, we have Ceres at this 0-19 degree point of Libra as well. So she is also opposing all of this new moon energy, as well as Mercury as well. So Ceres is about food. Word Ceres, literally cereal, comes from that word. So she was the goddess of agriculture. She was the goddess of soil itself. The health of the soil was down to the goddess Ceres. That's how it was believed. And our soil has been abused for so long, with all the chemicals that have been put into it for so long, and our food is so lacking in nutrient value that that there is, I feel personally, there's going to be a big shift again. Ceres is retrograde at this time. She's going back towards this Virgo energy, which is her own kind of home domain as well, being Ceres, being Virgo, agriculture, harvest, that kind of energy. So she's edging her way back towards that Virgo energy. And I really feel as though we're going to hear more about the lack of foods, the lack of, I mean, there's been a big win in the Netherlands for the farmers out there who have basically just got a big political position. I've heard good things, I've heard bad things about this, that they are compromised, and other people say no, they're still very much standing in their truth, which they could well be, but we'll have to wait and see. But this Ceres energy is going to kind of make us aware of the fact, and with this new moon as well, again activating that axis Mundi point, Aries, Libra, cardinal energy, pushing things to the front, pushing things forward, making us aware of things that we weren't aware of before. So yeah, food in general, I think, is going to become a big thing on the world stage over the next coming months. People are going to become more and more aware of shortages and the fact that that during that lockdown period when farmers couldn't get out there, they couldn't do their thing, and everything basically locked down, closed down, that there has been, like, so far we're kind of like still still on the tail end, if you like, of what was produced previously, but there's going to be this big gap of what has been and hasn't been able to be produced, and I feel as though we're going to kind of get a bit of a backlash from that as well. There's going to be an upswelling from that particular situation, when people realise exactly what's going on and why and how it's all taking place. And Pholus, of course, does play a big part in that as well, being kind of that energy of Pholus. This was the centaur who died very suddenly because he was stabbed by the Medusa blood. The Medusa blood being highly toxic and highly poisonous because it was venomous, came from the snake goddess, the Medusa, the gorgon-headed, snake-headed goddess. And there's also something to do with Medusa at the moment as well. Medusa is at 23 degrees and 27 of Pisces, so she's also conjunct this Neptune energy as well. So Pisces, Neptune is to do with the unknown, but it's also to do with things that you can't see. It's to do with, it's traditionally known as being to do with viruses and plagues and things that spread very quickly. Pholus energy is very much about that as well, that sudden death, things that spread very suddenly, very quickly through the body, causing problems in the organs, particularly with the heart, as we've been seeing a lot of, because once your heart stops, then that's more or less game over, really. And so this Neptune Medusa energy is going to kind of like, and with the sun and the moon highlighting Neptune at this time as well, and Neptune conjunct the Medusa energy, and the Medusa is going to cross over the Neptune energy as well. So we could see a real kind of like scare event on some level, like something happening that is going to be, again, it feels like something that's very sudden. I don't think it will last very long, but it could be something that could just like, yeah, be like a scare, like something that is being used against us, is probably the best way to describe that. So I think I've more or less covered most of the energies that are going on at this time. There is a big healing as well, though. As I was saying, we've got Vesta and Chiron. Chiron is wound healer of the past energies as well. He heals the wounds from our traumas, from our past. That can also involve our ancestral past, healing our ancestral past through our own story, the trauma that has been given to us from our ancestors that we have kind of like taken on board knowingly or unknowingly. Now is the time to really kind of look at all of those situations and to really try and clear these old stories, these old patterns, because Neptune is also about old patterns as well, and Chiron is about healing and letting things go. he gives us the potential, he gives us the ability to look on a deeper level at our healing needs. And Jupiter is conjunct Chiron at this time, so Jupiter is really kind of magnifying all of that energy as well, amplifying what it is that we really need to focus on and what we really need to be aware of. He also brings up the truth of a situation as well, so there is also elements of kind of like it being almost like a spotlight being shone in our face, if you like, being very much aware, very apparent of our old patterns, our old trauma, the things that keep us in the same story, repeating the same patterns over and over again. And we also have Vesta there, and as I was saying, Vesta is that sacred heart energy, the hearth, the home. She was the energy that was always kept ablaze. She was always kept aflame, fire being such an important element for heat and warmth and cooking, all those things that you need to do to survive and stay alive. This Vesta energy is kind of really bringing that all together, the kind of Chiron, Jupiter, Vesta energy. It's very powerful, very profound energy. The heart of the matter is how it feels to me. It kind of feels like, what is the heart of the matter for each of us on an individual level here? Because it's in Aries, it is the I am. And it's also about the courage of our hearts as well, standing up, the courage of our hearts, standing up for who we are, what we believe, with this Jupiter energy as well, because Jupiter is also about our beliefs. So I'm going to quickly read this, this card here, which I pulled earlier, and I did mean to read earlier, but I will read it now. This is Zafkael. I've not read these cards for a while, and they wanted to come out today, the angel script cards. So Zafkael is literally about love as well, and it is the unconditional love and compassion energy. And this archangel brings with it the gentle but powerful grace of the cosmic mother who protects and cares. And that's really interesting because Aries is the baby. It's the baby of the zodiac, and we all need to take care of ourselves. This is again this Chiron, Jupiter, Vesta energy as well, new moon energy, taking care of ourselves, of our own bodies and our own needs, not looking outside for that that energy, not looking outside for somebody else to come along and heal our wounds for us, but for us to recognize that we have that ability, we have that power to do that for ourselves. And this is through the mother love as well. And so she protects and cares for all her children. We are nurtured and blessed in a cradle of love, and encouraged to go forward and learn to walk without fear. When we stumble, Mother catches us. Mother blesses our lives and our journey, never seeking to hold us, but always welcoming our return. And interestingly, Mars is just about to go into the Cancer energy as well. On the 25th, he will be moving into the Cancer energy, which is that mother energy. He will also be reactivating all of that Black Moon Lilith energy that was in Cancer previously, like for the last 9 months. So he's going to be activating a lot of that darker side of the mother energy as well, which I will talk about more as I do the following reading for the full moon. So this love is our entitlement. It is a grace which waits patiently for us to creep into its arms. When our lives seem desolate, it is because we have forgotten how much we are loved. We have closed the shutters on the sunshine which seeks to warm us. The door to the human heart has to be opened from the inside. And that's what I feel is happening with this Chiron, Vesta, Jupiter triple conjunction happening here in Aries. It is opening the door to our heart. Zafkael is the angel of the rose, which unfolds its perfection to show us the depths of its heart. Here all manner of pain is healed and washed away by an ocean of boundless love. This love does not measure us, nor does it ask us to achieve perfection. When we are drawn into it, we discover that we are already perfect, and that all our trying has been a vain attempt to emulate the love which offers itself freely. Zafkael brings the wordless song of love and freedom. Love which is endless, and the freedom which is offered unconditionally to those who love freely. So a very beautiful card, and that was the card that came out for us earlier, as I wanted to save a bit of time. And I also want to do something that I've not done before, which is a bit new, because I wanted to do something different, something new. And so I'm going to pull a rune for an overall picture of what it is for this new moon in Aries, the energies, what we are working on as a collective at this time. And we have the rune of ice. I don't know if you can see that. I'll try and hold that up. You can see it's not that easy to see. There is like a line going down that rune. It's just, yeah, it's a bit tricky. But that is the rune that we have, and it is called Stand Still. Page 102. Stand still, that which impedes, or ice, and it has no reverse because it is just one line. So the winter of the spiritual life is upon you. You may find yourself entangled in a situation to whose implications you are in effect blind. You may be powerless to do anything except submit, surrender, even sacrifice some long cherished desire. Be patient, for this is the passive period that precedes a rebirth. Positive accomplishment is unlikely now. There is a freeze on useful activity or your plans on hold. You may be experiencing an unaccustomed drain on your energy and wonder why. A chill wind is reaching you over the ice floes of old, outmoded habits. Trying to hold on can result in shallowness of feeling, a sense of being out of touch with life. Seek to discover what it is you are holding on to that keeps this condition in effect and let go. Shed, release, cleanse away the old that will bring on the thaw. This is literally what I've just been talking about. It's amazing how these things work. Usually, ISA requires a sacrifice of the personal, the I, and yet there is no reason for anxiety. Submit and be still, for what you are experiencing is not necessarily the result of your actions or habits, but of the conditions of the time against which you can do nothing. What has been full must empty, what has increased must decrease. This is the way of heaven and earth. To surrender is to display courage and wisdom. At such a time, do not hope to rely on help or friendly support. In your isolation, exercise caution and do not stubbornly persist in attempting to work your will. Remain mindful that the seed of the new is present in the shell of the old, the seed of unrealized potential, the seed of the good. Trust your own process and watch for signs of spring. Very interesting. That is kind of everything that I was just talking about with that Chiron Chiron, Vesta, Jupiter, Neptune, new moon, all kind of combined into one thing, and I do so love how they managed to do that so like succinctly, just like magic. It's like, yeah, this is how it is. So let's just have a quick animal spirit card to end with and see which animal spirit we are working with at this time as well. Which of the animal spirit wants to talk to us at this time? Animal spirit. Oh, here we go. Oh, we've got, oh, maybe not. I'm going to just take the wolf spirit, which is in reverse. Come out this way. The wolf spirit in Native American Indian mythology was the teacher. And it says, turn knowledge into wisdom. Page 67. That's interesting, because I was going to look at this one as well, which is the card behind it. So, which is the trust in the magic. So let's see what the wolf spirit is saying. So the protection message, which is when it comes out in reverse, which means that you just need to be more aware of the energy, is what is unknown is still yet to be discovered. When wolf spirit appears, you are being told not to pretend you know something when you don't. You won't impress anyone with a little bit of knowledge. In fact, you rob yourself of a true experience and education if you tell yourself you are done learning or you don't have to know something. Be open, be humble, be teachable, and the world will open itself up for you like magic. Now is the time to look into the world with reverence and awe and an insatiable curiosity. You will never grow old if you are willing to keep learning. Wolf spirit is waiting to be your mystical, loving guide. And that's interesting, because I've always said to my children as well that never stop learning. We never, ever, ever stop learning. It's something that we do right to the day that we die, if we're open enough to believe that life is our education and it's not just academic. It's not just about going to school or university and then it just all ending. It's like ongoing. And Aries is that kind of new beginning of learning. So that's quite an interesting card to have there, the teacher. So I'm going to finish the reading there and say thank you very much for being here and for listening and for taking in some of the information that I have to say. This is my kitten Tia, who doesn't want to be held but would rather be on top of my laptop. She's very naughty, aren't you? She's only about 5 months old, so very curious, very playful, and she's the daughter of my other cat, Mib. So, yeah, going to leave it there and say thank you very much. Please, could you like my videos for me, thumbs it up, give me a a comment if you want to comment, because it does let the sorry, the cat's doing things it shouldn't be. It does let the platform know that people are taking notice of my channel, which apparently isn't that easy to find, I have been told. So please, if you feel like sharing it as well, I would really appreciate that too. And also, I was going to say something else. I always get to this point and I always forget what I'm going to say. Kind of, I just forget what it was. So yeah, like, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed already, please could you also do that as well, because I get subscribers and then for some reason I lose them as well. So I don't know whether that's just YouTube doing its thing and taking away just as many subscribers as I get at a time. So if you come across this channel and you've not been here before, please could you subscribe to my channel. If there's anything of any interest, if you found it of any interest at all, please yeah, give me a subscribe. We'll really appreciate you being here. And so with all that being said, enjoy this new moon which has taken place earlier today. And my cat is doing, like I said, things that she really shouldn't be doing, so I am going to leave it there and say thank you very much, and hopefully I will see you all again soon.